Oh, it's time for another Harry Potter review, ladies and gents, and this one is for Harry Potter 3. Wait, Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Harry Potter. This is for Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Harry Potter. That'll do. 3! Yay! Harry Potter 3. The Prisoner of Azkaban. And I don't know why I'm showing the book so much, because last night we watched the film Harry Potter Part 3 and The Prisoner of Azkaban from our beautiful Harry Potter Blu-ray set, which I've been seem to be loaning out to my friends recently.
No.
And then I have to spray them with detox.
They're part mine. And he's like, yeah, my friend has them. I was like,
listen,
keep them safe.
It was only, it's a friend in dire needs in a hard time. 2020 has been hard, right? Let them watch Harry Potter, right?
Okay, but if he ruins Goblet of Fire, I'm gonna be mad.
They have Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire right now. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is Rachel's favourite film. And this is part 3 of our video series where I have been reading the Harry Potter books and then following up by watching the Harry Potter films. So if you're new, basically that's what we do. And I have seen all the Harry Potter films, you know, from start to finish one time, which is crazy to a lot of people, and a lot of people get shocked by that.
I have not. I have seen them several times.
Rachel's seen, and she's actually seen Prisoner of Azkaban 5 times in 2020 alone.
I think so. I think it was 5.
Explain how that's happened.
Well, I watched them. I was rewatching them at the start of the year, just because I wanted to rewatch them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think it was towards the end of last year, actually, into the start of this year. And then, yeah, and then my friend, I had never seen them, so she wanted to watch them, so I watched them all with her. And then they showed them at the cinema.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they showed them all, but I only went to see Prisoner of Azkaban because it was the one we could go and see. And then I watched it with Chris.
So that's 4 times.
4 times.
But still, though, I mean, a lot of times to watch the same film in the one
In fact,
year.
Chris has seen them once, and I think the first time you watched it was what, 4 years ago?
2017.
3 years ago.
Which is crazy. And I'd said before, Prisoner of Azkaban was my favourite Harry Potter film, so I was very interested to read the book and stuff like that, find out about the story in more detail, because that's been the case with Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, where you kind of get more background and then you watch the film and you kind of see it in front of you and come to life and that sort of thing. The beauty of the Harry Potter films and any film series that starts with a book.
What did you say to me last night about your opinion on the books to the films? He said that he has, so far, all 3 of them, he's preferred the book over the film.
Just because it gives you more detail, that's all. Like, there's nothing wrong with the films at all. And last what I was going to say, where I was going with that point, was that I said that Prisoner of Azkaban was my favourite film when I watched it for the first time, but now I feel like I have the same opinion as this one as I did for Chamber of Secrets and Philosopher's Stone. But maybe I won't appreciate one individual film until I've seen them all again anyway.
Yeah, because when I was watching them with my friend, I didn't feel like I could ask her what her favourite was.
Right.
Until we finished them, because I was like, what one do you like best so far? And she was like, 1, 4, and I was like, well, you're not going to know until you see them all.
Because like it's getting to the point now where I'm like looking forward to seeing the next film and I'm buzzing to watching stuff, and I watch and I'm like, oh good, and it's flying by like that too. Whereas before, and I think that's the case with any film you're watching for the first time, I think it always takes a minute to get into it, and of course it does, because it's a whole new world, which is not a song from this film.
I was so tempted to start singing it there, and then remembered what a bad singer I was.
So realised we were recording. And then I just think the second watch of all films is the best watch. So I'm thoroughly enjoying the whole process. I said that last time too. I'm just loving reading the book and going straight into the film. This one didn't take me that long to read at all.
Plus you're busy as well, like you're with work and
well,
stuff.
I am back working too.
Finding time to do it.
I was able to read Philosopher's Stone quite quickly because it was like mid-lockdown and I wasn't doing anything. And then Chamber of Secrets took me ages. And this one took me a little bit longer than Philosopher's Stone, but not as long as Chamber of Secrets, so we're kind of finding a middle ground, which is good.
Good luck with Goblet of Fire!
Goblet of Fire is right here and it's a wee bit bigger, but I am excited to, and there's 33 chapters, so I'm thinking maybe if I can try and get into a routine where I read a chapter a night, I could finish it by the end of the year, but I don't know, it's going to be tougher than it sounds. But yes, what did you think watching the 3rd film this time, last night?
What, for like the 5th time?
Yeah.
Not in my life, like that's the thing as well, like I've seen them so many times before that. Well, Prisoner of Azkaban was always one, I said that word, Azkaban, that I have always like, not skipped over, but I've always been like, oh, I need to watch that one again. Like I just want to watch Goblet of Fire, just because it's my favourite.
Because that's your favourite one?
Yeah,
it's here. No, that looks any different than the other ones, but there you go.
But like, I think I appreciate it more this year. I
Very
don't know
important.
why I always. Yeah, it's very important. I don't know why I always would say that like not that it wasn't my least favourite, but I just always like But I've always liked the time turners and stuff.
Very
I've
cool.
always remembered that, but for some reason I never put that together. That's Prisoner of Azkaban. But I have a soft spot for Remus and Sirius, so you know, you've got to love that they're in it.
I loved the Lupin character in the book.
Really?
Yeah.
Prefer him in the book though.
I don't know. He was great in the film. And even Sirius Black, but again, so what I was saying to Rachel last night, I wasn't quite as bad as Philosopher's Stone, trying to tell her all the details that's in the book and the film, but I was still quite bad last night. But the bit, for those book readers that have read Philosopher's Stone, you know that when it's all kind of revealed to Harry that Sirius Black is innocent and he didn't, spoiler, and that he didn't murder his parents or betray his parents to he who should not be named, it's this massive chapter that goes on for about 30 pages.
Oh, and Remus talks for
And
ages.
Remus talks through everything. He talks about the background of him being a werewolf. He talks about why he never ratted out Sirius, no pun intended, why he didn't tell that Scabbers was lying in Ron's house for 12 years. It's this whole thing. And Hermione kind of clicks with her as well, and she's trying to help explain everything. And it's this big chapter, so I was waiting for this massive scene, and it's only on for about 5 minutes, the scene. I was like, is that it?
Maybe they didn't want it to be boring. And
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't have found it boring, but maybe they thought that would be boring for some.
The film's already about 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it just did not feel like that at all. It flew by.
What we were saying last night was, what was it? Oh, that we were a bit confused about. I think you were still a bit confused as well about the whole. Maybe someone can explain this. I don't know. We're bad Harry Potter fans if this is dead obvious and we're not understanding. But in the film, I can only go off the film because I haven't read the book. But in the film, so Harry gives Lupin confiscates like the Marauders map,
right?
And he's like, "You're like, this is really dangerous.
Dangerous,
If it got in the hands of a killer, like you're in danger, like because of this person's like in the castle, like you have to be careful, blah blah blah." But like he seems genuine. It doesn't seem like he's lying to him, right?
Yeah.
And then, obviously, before that, like Sirius breaks into the castle, and like it's found out that like Lupin let him in to the castle because he's his friend, right? Wait, but then later on when they're in like the, what's that called? That house called?
The shack, Shrieking Shack.
I can't say that, but
Shrieking Shack.
You know what I'm talking about. When they're in there, he's like says to Harry like, "Yeah, I thought so too. Like until you showed me the map and Peter Pettigrew's still alive." And then when like he comes in and Sirius is in there, he's like, "Nice to see you again, old friend," as if that was the first time they reunited.
Right. So I think because Lupin didn't know about the rat, didn't know Peter was still alive, right? But Sirius did. So Sirius has broken in to kill the rat.
Yeah, but Sirius didn't break in, someone had to let him in, and it was Lupin that let him in.
Did he really?
Well, that's what they say.
I'm telling you it's in the book and I just couldn't remember.
So I'm just not, like, I don't know, maybe that's not making any sense to anybody.
Oh, let's talk about this.
Right.
So, in the book, chapter 11, it's called The Firebolt. And in the book, Harry receives a present because the Nimbus 2000? 2000 gets destroyed, right, in the game of Quidditch against
maybe
Hufflepuff.
5000 at that point, sorry.
And then he's given like a new broom to ride on for Quidditch, and it's the Firebolt, right? And Hermione goes mental because she's like, "No, Sirius Black has sent you that to cause harm and kill you. You're not allowed to ride the Firebolt. I'm going to get it searched and give it to McGonagall." So McGonagall takes it, and Harry's raging with Hermione and had this big fallout. And of course, Scabbers has been killed, allegedly by Crookshanks and stuff like that. So there's this big fallout thing, and that's hardly even talked about in the film. It's like a wee argument in the film, not this big fallout. Like they don't speak to Hermione for days. And then McGonagall's taking weeks to go over this broom, and she's like, "It's got to be something because we can't find anything wrong with it." She gives Harry it back, and Harry uses the Firebolt, and he wins the Quidditch Cup for Gryffindor in the book, and the whole scene isn't in the film. So I was saying to Rachel, I was like, when are they going to win the cup? And Rachel's like, "What are you talking about?" Like, so maybe it comes in Goblet of Fire, the film.
No, they don't really have any Quidditch in Goblet of Fire because, like, I know that's not really a spoiler because that is the point of the book, is the Triwizard Tournament that they're going to do.
Right.
So that's like focused on that. They don't really do. I don't think anyway. I
So,
could be mistaken, but they go to a Quidditch match and they watch the World Quidditch like tournament thing at the start of Goblet of Fire.
It's just such an important part of the book. It's this massive part. So
He
Harry
does get the Firebolt in the film though, but
I know,
it's just at the end,
and
and he knows it's Sirius.
So Sirius did send him it, but like, so Hermione's like, "I told you."
Buckbeak's feather.
That's right, but there's a note in the book that says from Sirius. But that's obviously not to the
Maybe
end
it
of
was
the
to
book
be
either.
like symbolic in the film.
Yeah, so Harry's struggling to think of a Patronus, so he's struggling to think of a really happy memory. He doesn't have a happy memory. So the one...
First time I rode a broom.
So, right, that's what he tries, it doesn't work, right? So then the one that he now knows he's going to use and is able to save him at the end is the happy memory of winning the Quidditch Cup.
Really?
That's the happy memory that helps him.
He was thinking of his parents
Aye, well,
in the film.
that's not in the book. So it's just crazy. It's like, how do you compare it? Do you know what I mean?
But what I was saying last night is obviously there's been a lot of, because like there's such a difference between a film and a book, like how you make up a film, and like say they weren't related at all. A lot of different things goes into it, and like you would make decisions for a film that you wouldn't do for a book. So I feel like that's probably the main reason, is they think like it's more artistic.
Yeah, totally.
Whatever.
I totally get that.
Like visually, rather than like Remus is going to sit there for a whole hour.
Yeah.
We're going to watch him talk.
Well, it's not going to be an hour, but it could have been. It could have been a bit of a monologue.
The only scene in Harry Potter, this I'm trying not to spoil it when I say this because Chris doesn't really remember any of the films or anything. But the only scene that there's like I can think of where there's like a big long, this is this story, we're going to tell you this whole story. There's kind of a bit in Half-Blood Prince, but not too much. It's kind of like more like a scene, like you know in Chamber of Secrets where he goes and he sees Tom Riddle and like no one can
that's
see
quite
him.
a big explanation.
Kind of like that,
but yeah.
right? There's that in Half-Blood Prince a little bit, but in I think it's part 1 of Deathly Hallows. There's like they tell this story about 3 brothers. Like it's this big long thing, right? It's important. But that's the only time I can really think where they do that, and I'm thinking that maybe it's because in films they didn't want to have.
Yeah.
Because people might get bored.
I'm not saying, oh god, I'm not saying like someone should be sitting there with the book, watching the film going, nope, we've not got to this sentence yet, that's not completely accurate. I'm not saying that, I just mean like, should that be part of it? Should you say how well is the film being a representation of the book? Or is that a completely different thing? Is it its own, are the films their own thing?
See, to me they are, but that's because I didn't read them,
right.
and I wish I had been a reader when I was
younger. But there's so many people who haven't read the books, you know?
No, but there's a lot of people who are like, if you haven't read the books, you're a true Harry Potter fan. And it's like, I just wasn't a reader when I was little, but like I grew up on Harry Potter, so it's like still part of like something I'm obsessed with, and I know so much. Well, I think I know a lot of it. Yeah,
you can't figure that thing out.
I can't figure out how Lupin and Sirius. There's so much, and I'm confused.
So yeah, I love time travel in films and stuff like that. Like Back to the Future's one of my favourite movies ever and all that stuff. So the fact there's some form of time travel in this film, I love when you see that in films. When you know the bit, like the wee sort of Easter eggs where like you see earlier in the film where they get hit in the face with the rocks and that sort of thing, and Hermione turns round and she's like, I think I just saw, oh nothing doesn't matter, but she sees herself, you don't find that out till later.
Remember I pointed out last night that there was Dumbledore and Hagrid went back into his hut, house, I don't really know what the correct word is for it, cabin? Hut?
Same thing.
I feel like it's a hut.
I think it's a hut.
They go in there, and it's funny because when you see that scene, it's because Dumbledore knows that like Hermione and that are doing it, and he's like distracting them. It's
brilliant.
You can talk. I can't remember what I was going to say.
Okay, well, there's not really much else I want to say. It just I thought about this earlier on because the process that I'm doing this in, reading the book and then watching the film, I feel like might be having an effect on me, being like, oh, that's not in the book, or that's not in the book, and then it's taking me out of it a little bit. So what I'm thinking and doing is continuing with the process up to the end, and then after they're all done, trying and doing like a week-long thing, where it's like rewatching them all from the start as only films. You know what I mean? If
you were to binge them, I believe it takes, I want to say like 12 hours, 14 hours. It was something like that. Roughly, to watch them all, right? But so if you split that up over a week, that's doable.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could even watch part 1 and part 2
in the same night. That's doable.
Well, what we did, me and my friend, I watched Half-Blood Prince at night, and then that morning when I got up, or like that afternoon, I watched part 1.
Right.
Because the last 3 are really
similar. Okay.
Not similar. I know
what you mean. They lead into each other.
You kind of just want to see all the information at that point.
Okay.
But then part 2, you're like, oh.
Well, I can't tell you if it's still my favourite Harry Potter film or not yet, because I need to watch the rest of them.
And everyone says that that's the most different.
Yes, that's a good point. I heard that as well before I started. And I can't believe, like, one of the biggest parts of the book is, and then there's like chapters of them getting trained and getting ready and practicing on the firebolt to do this Quidditch thing, and it's not even mentioned in the film. It's crazy, man.
I will be reading these books.
So, I'm buzzing to carry on. I loved it. I preferred the book over the film, which I didn't expect for Prisoner of Azkaban, I must say. But there's so much more info in here, and that sounds really daft and pretentious, but what I mean is, it's just there's so much more to the characters and the story
That's how I feel about like All the Bright Places.
Yeah, true.
And stuff. So.
But it doesn't make me hate the films by any means. And also, I just feel like when I'm watching the films, I feel like because I know all the backstory, I know all the extra information, I do feel like the films are skipping around a lot. And I feel like if I didn't read the book, I wouldn't feel that, because Rachel doesn't think that. But like, now that I know all the stuff, like the bit where, so Harry gets on the night bus and he goes straight to the Leaky Cauldron, and then like the next morning he goes downstairs and Hermione and Ron are there. There's this whole bit in the book where he's walking through sort of Diagon Alley, and I think he tries to get some money, and he goes and buys like sweeties or something himself and stuff, and he gets an encounter with a really spooky person that could maybe be the Grimm again and all that stuff. So it's like there's loads of stuff.
I'm so proud because you're actually paying attention to these books, because sometimes even even books I've been reading, like I can't remember things that happen, like the little details and stuff, like especially for my uni course, like books I'm reading, like people are like, oh my god, this part, and I'm like, what? Like, so you're remembering a lot of details. I mean, you're taking them in. There's
the night bus, which you can see in Universal Studios in Orlando, which we never went on, but I believe they sell.
You can go inside it. We didn't, but you can. The guy scared me a little bit. There's nothing wrong with him, I just don't like talking to people.
Here we go, this is good. We'll try and post the thumbnail, right? Move over that wee bit. And try and get that in focus. Lovely. Right, anyway, so that's Prisoner of Azkaban. Love it. Looking forward to moving on. So far, my favourite book has probably been this one. My favourite film has probably been Philosopher's Stone, but it's hard to say right now.
Remember that Cedric is in that book?
Yep.
I found this out.
Cedric
is mentioned in this.
Pops up in this book.
And we all know what happens in this, okay?
Even I know.
And because I don't shop with it.
There you go. So, another Harry Potter video in the books, no pun intended. And we will see you all next time right here on a Harry Potter watch through and read through on CM42 TV. Goodbye!